preaching professor and mentor, the Reverend Dr. Craig Sadley, who is now currently serving as the bishop of the Northwest Lower Michigan Synod in the ELCA, the Mitten Synod, as they like to call his book, God Speaks Through Worship. So Dr. Sadley, fresh out of seminary and feeling like he was going to personally change the world from being a pastor, well, he arrived at his first call congregation, which was small and very family-like in its communal name. And Dr. Sadley, having been fresh out of seminary, knew what he was talking about because he had just gotten the education he needed to be a good theologian and leader and pastor. And so he told the congregation that if they wanted to be relevant again, if they wanted to grow in size of their congregation, well, then they needed to change some things. So, Dr. Sadley introduced a bunch of changes in the congregation. Now, initially, the changes that Dr. Sadley made did bring some growth to these congregations in terms of numbers. Many newcomers started coming, and the congregation grew. However, when the major factory in town closed its doors, many of those newcomers suddenly left town, and the congregation was left with the same group of people that it had started with when Dr. Sadley first arrived. Only this time, the original members of the congregation were now angry with Dr. Sadley. It turns out that the congregation did not welcome his changes at all. Well, being quite distressed about how to fix things, Dr. Sadley decided to write a letter to his bishop, who at the time was a well-known grower of churches. Dr. Sadley pleaded with his bishop for some advice on how he could help his congregation grow, how he could get them over the mindset of not wanting to change so that they could thrive in their mission once more, so that they could grow in their numbers. Well, when the bishop responded, his advice was this: Craig Sadley, you are an ordained minister of word and sacrament. If you want to grow the church, here's what you do. You preach the good news. You administer the sacraments. You teach the Bible and the confessions. You visit the sick. You bury the dead. And then you let God do the growing. I share this story of my mentor with you because I believe that it is a good reminder to all of us that while we are very much a part of God's mission in the world, it is not really up to any of us to grow the church. Sometimes I think we do put too much pressure on ourselves and we get too wrapped up in numbers and think that we need to save the church. We are very much a productivity-driven society. And we are taught from a very early age that higher numbers usually mean success. Just think about it. When we were tested in school, a higher number we achieved on that test usually meant a better grade. And in the business world, the higher the profit margin at the end of each financial quarter usually means the more successful that business has become. And the more money one has, don't we